couple disappears on a trip in the snow. 8 years later, a mountaineer finds something unusual. Michael Turner gripped the ice-covered rocks tightly, the freezing wind slashing across his face like knives. Snow gusts blurred his vision, reducing the world to a few hazy meters and forcing him to move slowly. He felt the cold sink into every fiber of his body. His muscles ached, but he knew he couldn't stop. "Come on, Michael," he muttered to himself through shallow breaths. "Don't give up now." Snow kept piling into his boots, making each step heavier, but his resolve held strong. He had climbed Patrickofel dozens of times, but never in a storm like this. The gray clouds seemed to swallow the mountain whole, creating a surreal, almost haunted atmosphere. Michael felt a strange unease, as if the mountain itself was trying to warn him. Reaching a small natural ledge on the slope, he stopped to catch his breath. With trembling, numb fingers, he checked his GPS. The signal was weak and flickering, barely. Useful dot. As he adjusted his hood, something faint caught his eye. A flicker of light, barely noticeable, buried in thick snow near a prominent rock. Frowning, he cautiously approached, wondering if his eyes were playing tricks on him. He knelt down, brushing the snow away with gloved hands. The cold intensified. "What is this?" he whispered, heart pounding in his chest. The snow gave way to reveal a smooth metallic surface, adorned with delicate floral engravings. As he dug further, he uncovered a prosthetic leg, a pristine artificial limb with a design that looked eerily familiar. Michael froze, his pulse thundering in his ears. That metallic leg was unmistakable. It belonged to Emily Harris. A chill ran down his spine as memories of the case that once shook Innsbruck came rushing back. Emily Harris and her husband Jack Bennett had vanished on that very mountain 8 years ago. Suddenly, the sensation of being watched crept over him. Michael raised his head nervously, scanning the white silence, but nothing moved except the wind. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself, though the air now felt thick with an eerie tension. "How is this even possible? ... he murmured, staring at the prosthetic leg. After all these years ... Images of Emily's smiling face flooded his mind. He vividly remembered the news broadcasts covering the couple's disappearance, the rescue team scouring the mountain for days, and the endless theories that followed. Now, here he was a lone climber holding what might be the key to the entire mystery. Without wasting another second, Michael gently placed the leg into his backpack. His heart raced with a mix of nerves and anticipation at the weight of this unexpected discovery. The storm kept hammering him on the way down. Visibility was poor, and though he had taken these trails many times, today they felt foreign and hostile. Every shadow seemed to conceal something hidden. Michael hurried, knowing he had to get to the police station as soon as possible. An hour later, soaked and exhausted, he pushed through the doors of the Innsbruck police station. His entrance startled the officers, who recognized him from previous collaborations. "Turner, what the hell are you doing out in this weather?" asked Detective Paul Ryder, rising from his desk. "I found something on Patrickofel," Michael said flatly, revealing the prosthetic. "Something that might reopen a cold case." Ryder fell silent, eyes fixed on the item in Michael's hands. His expression grew grim. "Is that Emily Harris's leg?" he asked softly, recognizing the design immediately. Michael nodded slowly. Ryder took the prosthetic with gloved hands and carried it into the next room, where other officers began documenting and analyzing the evidence. Michael watched silently from the hallway, trying to manage the anxiety swelling inside him. He knew this could reopen old wounds and flood the city with questions again, but maybe it could finally bring answers. Suddenly, the door opened, snapping him out of his thoughts. Detective Elsa Brandt, known for her sharpness and methodical nature, stepped in with purposeful strides. She examined the prosthetic carefully, then turned her piercing gaze to Michael. "Where exactly did you find it, Turner?" Elsa asked, her voice calm but intense. "Near the southeast trail, by a large rock. It looked like it had been recently buried." "But that can't be. Not after 8 years," Michael said, recalling the odd sensation he had at the spot. Elsa nodded thoughtfully, inspecting the prosthetic with a trained eye. Her fingers paused at a tiny, barely noticeable detail. "There's something strange here," she whispered, pointing to a fine line in the metal. Michael stepped closer, intrigued. "What do you think it is?" Elsa didn't answer right away. She pulled out a small tool and began delicately probing the area. The air seemed to thicken around them with tension. A soft click echoed in the room. A hidden compartment slid open inside the prosthetic. Everyone in the room held their breath in shock. Michael's heart pounded as he stared at the compartment. What secret had Emily hidden inside her artificial leg? And why go to such lengths to conceal it? "What the hell is this? Elsa muttered, frowning as she carefully extracted a small object. The room felt suspended in time. No one dared to move as the mystery unfolded before them. Michael watched Elsa's hands closely, trying to make out the object. He knew whatever it was might finally bring clarity or unleash even more confusion. Time seemed to slow as Elsa examined the item, her face grave and focused. Then that prickling sensation returned to Michael's neck, as if someone or something was watching him from the shadows. He turned slowly, peering out the station window into the night, but found only stillness. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He looked back at Elsa, who was now placing the object onto a table. Michael stepped forward, trying to get a better view, but before he could see it clearly, Elsa quickly covered it. "We need to alert forensics right away," Elsa said, visibly disturbed. "Until then, this stays between us." A shiver ran down Michael's spine. He could sense that this discovery held far more than simple answers. He watched in silence as officers began organizing the transfer of the mysterious item for analysis, standing in that cold room while the storm howled outside. Michael knew with certainty this was only the beginning of something much deeper and far more dangerous. Was there more still buried on Patrickofel, waiting to be found? Michael clenched his fists, steeling himself with quiet resolve. His role in this story had just begun. He stared at the hidden object, determined to uncover the truth behind the mystery of Emily Harris and Jack Bennett. But would he be ready for what came next? Elsa Brandt adjusted her gloves as she examined the small object she had just pulled from the hidden compartment inside the prosthetic leg. Her expression remained unreadable, but her eyes shimmered with a mix of surprise and caution. Michael shifted uneasily, leaning in a little closer. "What exactly is that?" Michael asked, trying to mask the tension in his voice. Elsa slowly raised her hand, revealing a small silver USB drive. "A USB stick," she whispered. "And it looks intact." A heavy silence settled in the room as the officers exchanged uneasy glances. Elsa walked over to her laptop and carefully inserted the device. Michael felt his hands instinctively tighten. "This might give us some answers," Elsa said calmly. Upon opening the drive, a single audio file appeared dated precisely the day Emily Harris disappeared. Elsa took a short breath and hit play. A woman's voice, broken and trembling, filled the room. "It's me, Emily. I don't know how much longer I can take this. Something's happening, something I don't fully understand. Jack has been acting strange since we got here. He barely speaks, just stares at me like he's waiting for something. And it's not just him. There's someone else. Someone's following me at the resort, watching me in silence. I feel like I'm going crazy, but I swear I'm not imagining it. What do they want from me?" Elsa paused the recording briefly, looking over at Michael's unsettled face. "Do you recognize the voice?" she asked. Without a doubt, Michael replied confidently, "That's Emily Harris. I remember her voice from the TV interviews, but I've never heard her sound that terrified." Elsa nodded thoughtfully, then resumed the playback. "The worst part is Jack knows something. He's nervous. Yesterday, I overheard him on the phone saying, 'Everything will go as planned. I'm trapped in a nightmare. If something happens to me, please search here on the mountain. There are more things hidden. Things that will explain all of this, but hurry. I'm almost out of time." The recording ended abruptly, leaving behind an eerie, suffocating silence. Elsa leaned back in her chair, her face serious. "This completely changes the way we see the case," she murmured. "Until now, we thought it was an accident, or maybe they disappeared by choice. Now we know Emily felt clearly threatened." Michael, still shaken by Emily's words, felt a tightness in his chest. Something about the message disturbed him deeply. "Do you think Jack could have done something to her?" he asked, unsure. Elsa slowly shook her head. "It's too soon to say. But it's clear he was hiding something." She stood up, determined. "I need to speak to people who were close to the Harris-Bennett couple before the trip," Elsa said firmly. "We're going to reinvestigate everything from the beginning." Over the next few hours, Elsa pored over the original case files. She studied images of the couple smiling at the ski resort, enjoying the snowy views. She watched as Emily wrapped her arms lovingly around Jack for the cameras. Those cheerful memories now clashed brutally with the raw fear in her voice on the recording. Elsa stared at a photo of Emily, radiant and full of life, unable to fathom what had happened to her days later. "What really happened to you, Emily?" she whispered. "What did you see that changed everything?" Suddenly, a call interrupted her thoughts. She answered quickly. "Detective Brandt speaking. We have someone here who worked at the resort that season," an officer said. "He claims he noticed strange behavior before the incident." Elsa frowned. "I'm on my way," she replied, grabbing her coat. At the interview room, she found a middle-aged man with tired eyes named Mark Heller. "What exactly did you see?" Elsa asked as she sat across from him. Mark cleared his throat, clearly nervous. "I remember them well. Emily and Jack were kind people, but in the final days, something changed," he said cautiously. Jack looked tense, worried. "One night, I saw him arguing with someone behind the lodge. I couldn't see who it was, but it was heated. Did you hear what they were arguing about? No, but I noticed Emily nearby. She looked really scared. Elsa exhaled deeply and took notes. Every new detail only deepened the mystery. Do you know anyone who might have wanted to hurt them? Mark hesitated. There was an instructor named Max Gruber. He was always near Emily. I never really knew what their relationship was, but Jack clearly didn't like him. Elsa underlined the name firmly. What happened to Max Gruber after that? He disappeared not long after the incident. No one heard from him again. A silent alarm went off in Elsa's mind. After the interview, Michael approached Elsa again, worried. Who is Max Gruber? A new suspect, Elsa replied seriously. And now missing as well. Michael felt that creeping sensation again, that this was something far darker than he ever imagined. Do you think Emily was telling the truth? Was someone really following her? Elsa took a slow breath, carefully choosing her words. Emily was genuinely afraid. And it seems Jack wasn't the man everyone thought he was. Their conversation was suddenly interrupted by another officer. Rushing in with urgency, "Detective, we just got a call." "An anonymous tip," the young officer said, clearly shaken. "What exactly did they say?" Elsa asked, alert. The officer hesitated a moment. "They said they know exactly what happened to Emily Harris and Jack Bennett. They mentioned a secret place in the mountain near the Southern Trail. Claim that what we find there will change everything about this case." Elsa exchanged a long look with Michael. Was it a man or a woman who called? "We don't know," the officer replied. The voice was distorted. Elsa pressed her lips together. "In tension, trace the call," she ordered, "and get a team ready. We're going to search every inch of that mountain if we have to." Michael felt a surge of adrenaline. That call might finally reveal the truth, but he was also afraid. What kind of hidden place could turn everything upside down? Elsa quickly gathered her gear, preparing for a long night. "Come with me, Michael," she said with determination. "You're going to help us find that hidden place. After all, you were the one who started this." Michael nodded without hesitation. But as he walked toward the exit, that familiar unsettling feeling returned. He couldn't shake the thought that something darker and more dangerous awaited them on Patschkerkofel. As Elsa rushed out the door, followed by Michael and a group of officers. The anonymous message echoed in everyone's mind. "What you find there will change everything about this investigation." Who had made the call? What secrets were buried in that hidden place deep in the mountain? Michael closed his eyes for a brief moment, trying to prepare himself for whatever lay ahead. The mystery of Emily Harris and Jack Bennett was far from over, and they were about to find out that they had deeply underestimated what happened that stormy night 8 years ago. Elsa Brandt moved slowly through the deep snow, her flashlight casting a faint beam along the narrow path ahead. The cold was sharp as a blade, and every breath formed a small cloud in front of their faces. Michael followed behind her, alert to the slightest sound in the dense forest surrounding them. They had left the comfort of Innsbruck more than 2 hours earlier, driven by that mysterious call that led them to this forgotten place. At last, the dark silhouette of an old wooden cabin appeared in front of them, partially buried in snow. The structure looked worn down, clearly abandoned for years. The weathered planks showed signs of erosion from storms and time. Elsa stopped at the front door, which was sealed with a rusted padlock. "This has to be it," Elsa murmured, her voice steady and sure. Michael nodded silently, eyeing the door with unease. A freezing wind blew through the forest, rustling the tree branches softly. There was something unsettling about the lonely cabin. "Do you think we'll find answers in there?" Michael asked, trying to steady his voice. "I hope so," Elsa replied. "Whatever it is, we have to go in now." Carefully, she took out a small metal tool and easily broke the rusted lock. The door creaked open, revealing absolute darkness inside. They stepped in slowly. Elsa swept the flashlight across the room while Michael turned on a small portable camera to record everything. The air inside was heavy, saturated with the smell of damp wood and rot. Silence hung over them like a weight. Elsa moved toward a table coated in thick dust, where remnants of old food and rusted utensils lay scattered. "Someone lived here for a long time," Elsa whispered, her expression serious. Michael felt a chill down his spine. Who would choose to live in such isolation? They kept inspecting every corner carefully. In one spot, they found a pile of old, dirty clothes stacked messily on an improvised bed made of straw and tattered blankets. Michael filmed the scene closely, trying to capture anything that might explain who had stayed there. As Elsa moved toward a small side table, something caught her attention. On its surface were numerous drawings on wrinkled, yellowed sheets. As she leaned closer, an uneasy feeling came over her. "Michael, look at this," Elsa called out in a tense voice. Michael quickly approached, aiming the camera at the scattered papers. As he got a closer look, he felt something punch him in the chest. The drawings were disturbing portraits of Emily Harris. Some showed her with hollow eyes, others with expressions of fear and despair. The lines were rough, obsessive, almost sick. In every image, a dark figure lurked in the background, silently watching her. "Who could have done this?" Michael asked, barely breathing. Elsa pressed her lips together, closely examining the style of the sketches. She knew exactly who had drawn them. "These were done by Jack Bennett," Elsa said firmly. "I recognize the strokes. We reviewed his work during the original investigation." Michael stared at her in disbelief. That revelation shifted everything they thought they knew about Jack. "You think Jack was obsessed with Emily like this?" Elsa remained quiet for a few moments, studying the drawings again. "I can't say for sure yet, but it's clear something dark was happening between them," she finally said. "We need to keep searching. There are more secrets here." They continued going through the cabin, uncovering more drawings and personal items that suggested a tense and troubled relationship. In a small trunk, Elsa found old photos of the couple from happier times, hugging, laughing, carefree in various places around the world. Looking at those images, Elsa wondered how something once so beautiful could turn into such a dark, tragic mystery. What had really happened between Emily and Jack to make their love unravel into this? Just then, Michael stepped nervously toward the window. The discomfort he'd felt since arriving still clung to him. "Elsa, I feel like someone's watching us," he said quietly. Elsa moved beside him, peering out into the snowy darkness. The forest looked still and silent, but the feeling of being watched was undeniable. "Maybe we're just letting all this get in our heads," Elsa said, trying to remain calm. "Let's keep searching. We need concrete answers, but Michael couldn't shake the unease. He had been on many expeditions, knew the mountain and its sounds. This felt different, deeper, more disturbing. While Elsa organized the evidence, Michael stepped outside to check the surroundings. He needed to be sure no one else was out there. Walking slowly around the cabin, flashlight low over the fresh snow, something caught his attention. A trail of recent footprints, clearly human, leading into the trees. His heart pounded. He crouched to examine them more closely, confirming someone had been there just minutes ago. "Elsa, come quick!" Michael shouted in alarm. She came out immediately, flashlight in hand. "What is it?" Michael pointed to the prints in the snow. Someone else was just here. "These tracks are fresh." Elsa tensed, scanning the forest quickly. Her expression turned grave. "That changes everything." "We're not alone," Elsa whispered, raising her voice. "Get ready." She shouted to the officers near the vehicles. Michael felt adrenaline surge through him again. Every instinct screamed they should leave, but something inside him needed to know who that person was. As he studied the footprints, a shadow moved suddenly between the trees. Michael looked up in time to catch a dark figure slipping behind a thick trunk. "There, someone's out there," Michael shouted, pointing toward the forest. Without waiting, he started to run after the figure. Elsa, hesitating only briefly, followed and alerted the police team to back them up. The chase intensified through the forest's darkness. Branches whipped their faces, the cold bit into their skin, but adrenaline pushed them forward. Michael ran with all his strength, his heartbeat hammering in his ears. The figure was fast, agile, and clearly knew the terrain, trying to lose them with ease. "Stop!" "Police!" Elsa shouted, desperate to halt the person vanishing among the trees, but the silhouette kept fleeing, melting into the shadows of the snowy woods. In the middle of that frantic chase, Michael was gripped by a sense of deep uncertainty and danger. Who was this person? What connection did they have to Emily and Jack's disappearance? And most worrying of all, why had they been watching from the shadows? As he pushed deeper into the trees, Michael realized they were getting closer to a truth far more twisted and dangerous than he had ever imagined. The answers were hidden in that mysterious figure, somewhere in the darkness of the forest. But what Michael didn't know yet was that he was about to uncover something far more disturbing than anything he'd ever imagined. The night was closing in, slowly revealing its secrets. Michael ran desperately between the trees, the heavy snow slowing each of his steps. Gusts of wind slammed into his face, cutting through to the bone. The cold bit at his skin, and his lungs burned from the effort, but he couldn't stop now. "Stop!" Michael shouted, his voice strong, toward the dark figure fleeing ahead. The silhouette kept running, dodging fallen logs and snow-covered branches with frantic agility. Elsa followed close behind, her flashlight lighting up the narrow path. The forest seemed to close in around them, tightening with each step. "You can't run forever," Elsa yelled, her tone commanding as she pushed to catch up. The figure stumbled slightly, trying to avoid a hidden rock under the snow, allowing Michael to close the distance. He could now hear the person's ragged, strained breathing. Exhaustion was catching up. With one last burst of energy, Michael lunged forward and grabbed the fugitive's coat, yanking him down hard into the snow. Both of them tumbled several feet, panting, until they stopped near a thick tree trunk. Michael pinned the man to the ground, getting a good look at his pale, thin face, unkempt beard, sunken eyes. Elsa arrived seconds later, shining her light straight into his face. "Don't move." "Police," Elsa ordered, voice sharp and steady. The man trembled visibly, glancing fearfully from side to side. His breath was shallow and quick, and his eyes reflected raw panic. "Easy. We're not here to hurt you," Michael said in a softer tone. "We just want to know who you are and what you're doing here." The man took a few seconds to catch his breath, then finally whispered, his voice shaky and fragile. "My name is Lucas Bauer. I used to work at the ski resort years ago." Elsa narrowed her eyes, still alert. "Why were you hiding, Lucas? Why did you run?" Lucas looked away, his lips trembling. "I was afraid when I saw you coming. I thought you were after me," he rasped. Michael loosened his grip slightly, sensing that Lucas wasn't a threat. "Why would anyone be after you? Who are you running from?" Elsa asked, studying his every expression. Lucas took a deep breath before speaking again, his gaze darting nervously. "I've been hiding for years. I saw things that night when Emily Harris and Jack Bennett disappeared. Things I wasn't supposed to see." Elsa and Michael exchanged a quick, sharp look. "What exactly did you see?" Elsa asked, kneeling beside him. "I saw Emily and Jack arguing by the main trail," Lucas began, his voice still trembling. "I'd never seen them like that. They were out of control. But it wasn't just them. There was someone else." Michael felt his pulse rise again. "Who was the other man?" he pressed. Lucas struggled to speak, as if the words hurt. "It was an instructor named Max Gruber. I recognized him clearly. He was well known around the resort. He was always watching Emily, almost obsessed with her. That night, something was wrong. He was following them, hiding in the shadows." Elsa furrowed her brow, mentally noting every word. "What else do you know about Max Gruber? Why do you think he was following them?" Lucas shook his head, overwhelmed. "I never found out exactly why, but a few months later, he vanished too. That scared me even more. That's when I ran. I was terrified they'd come after me next." Elsa and Michael shared another worried glance. "Do you think Max hurt them?" Michael asked cautiously. Lucas slowly lifted his eyes to meet theirs. The fear in them was unmistakable. "I'm sure he was involved, but I don't know how. I heard rumors that Emily owed him money, but that's all I know." Michael felt a knot tighten in his stomach. What was really going on between Emily, Jack, and Max? Elsa stood slowly, scanning the forest. The night felt heavier now, like it was hiding something in every shadow. "You need to come with us to the station, Lucas," she said firmly. "You'll need to tell us everything in detail." Lucas nodded, defeated. Elsa and Michael helped him to his feet. As they made their way back toward the vehicles, Elsa couldn't shake the growing unease. Every detail they uncovered only made the story more complex, more twisted. At the patrol car, Elsa helped Lucas inside, ensuring he was secure. Michael remained outside, his eyes fixed on the looming forest around them. "What do you make of all this, Elsa?" he asked finally. Elsa sighed, fatigue starting to creep in. "I think we're just scratching the surface. Whatever happened that night, it's far more complicated than we imagined. Max Gruber might be the key to it all. Michael nodded, fully aware of how serious things were becoming. Before they could continue the conversation, Elsa's phone vibrated sharply in her pocket. She answered immediately. Detective Brandt speaking. Voice on the other end was breathless, urgent. Detective, we just received an alert from the Border Patrol. Max Gruber was spotted a few hours ago alive and moving near the Swiss border. Elsa felt the breath escape her lungs for a moment. That was huge. It changed everything. Where exactly? She asked quickly, steadying her tone. Near the town of Feldkirch. We're tracking his movement, but he could cross into Switzerland at any moment. Elsa took a deep breath, locking eyes with Michael as she processed the news. He looked just as stunned as she did. Keep eyes on him. Deploy. Units immediately. We're on our way, Elsa ordered, ending the call. Michael watched her, tense. What is it, Elsa? That was the Border Patrol, Elsa said gravely. Max Gruber has been spotted near Switzerland. He's alive, Michael, and now we need to find him before he disappears again. Michael felt the adrenaline surge once more. This was their chance to finally unravel the mystery. But he also knew, step by step, the danger was growing. The dark forest stood silently behind them, keeping its deepest secrets hidden as Elsa and Michael braced once again to face the unknown. Elsa Brandt drove in silence along the icy road winding toward the Swiss border. The first light of dawn began to break timidly through the clouds, casting a pale glow over the snowy, silent landscape ahead. She could feel the exhaustion in every muscle of her body, but she couldn't afford to stop. Everything now depended on finding Max Gruber. As she drove, her mind replayed the disturbing details of the last few hours. Lucas, that emaciated man from the woods, had revealed unsettling clues that cast doubt on everything they thought they knew. Elsa was more certain than ever that this case hid a dark and tangled truth. After several hours, she finally arrived at a small village near Feldkirch where Max Gruber had reportedly been spotted. A strange sensation, part anxiety and part anticipation, settled over her as she parked in front of an old wooden house on the outskirts, lonely, surrounded by snow-covered trees. She stepped cautiously from the car, scanning her surroundings. A light wind carried flurries of snow that gently dusted her dark coat. Walking with purpose, she approached the wooden door and took a deep breath before knocking firmly. "Who is it?" called a rough voice from inside. "Elsa Brandt, detective. From Innsbruck." "I need to speak with Max Gruber," she answered firmly. There was a long moment of silence. Then the door opened slowly, revealing the weary, aged figure of Max. Time had clearly not been kind to the former ski instructor. His face was lined with deep wrinkles. Messy hair fell over his shoulders, and his eyes were wary and hollow. "What does the police want from me now, after all this time?" he asked bitterly. "Just answers," Elsa replied calmly, locking eyes with him. "It's time to tell the truth about what happened that night with Emily Harris and Jack Bennett." Max let out a long sigh and finally stepped aside to let her in. The house was dark and cold, reeking of tobacco and loneliness. He sank heavily into a worn chair and motioned for Elsa to sit across from him. "What exactly do you know?" Max asked cautiously. "I know enough to understand you were involved," Elsa said confidently. "I need the full story." Max stayed silent for a moment, fidgeting nervously with his hands. Emily and Jack were drowning in debt. He began, his voice tired. They had taken out loans they couldn't repay. Their plan was to fake their disappearance and start over in another country. Elsa listened attentively, keeping a neutral but sharp expression. They paid me a good amount to help. I was supposed to guide them through secret routes to the Swiss border, but something went wrong. His voice cracked slightly. That night, Emily found out things about Jack she had no idea about. Elsa leaned forward, frowning. What kind of things? Max took a deep breath, as if reliving the pain in his mind. Betrayals, affairs, hidden debts. Emily lost control. They had a huge fight near a ravine. I tried to stop them, but it was chaos. Elsa studied him carefully, searching his face for signs of deceit. What happened exactly at that moment? She pressed. Max swallowed hard, his eyes full of remorse. Emily slipped and fell into the darkness below. Jack, in a panic, went after her. I waited for hours, calling out, but got no response. I thought they both died. I panicked and ran. I was sure I'd be blamed for it. Elsa remained thoughtful. Max's story made sense, but it still left unanswered questions. Then, how do you explain the prosthetic leg found recently near Patrickhoffel? Max shook his head, clearly puzzled. I don't know. When I left, Emily wasn't there. Maybe she survived longer than I believed. Elsa stood up slowly and paced the room, unsettled. Each detail only deepened the mystery. Something in Max's version didn't quite add up. Are you sure Emily's fall was accidental? She asked, finally, watching his reaction closely. Max's head snapped up, alarmed. What are you suggesting? I would never hurt Emily. I just wanted to help them, he replied, genuinely distressed. Elsa paused, measuring her next question. And what happened to Jack? Did he really disappear? Max looked down for the first time since they began talking. I thought he died for years. But recently, I learned he didn't. He said at last, voice barely audible. Elsa felt the air grow thick with tension. Her pulse quickened. What do you mean? Jack Bennett is alive? She asked sharply. Max slowly met her eyes, and she saw fear and worry flickering in them. Jack survived that night. I don't know how, but he escaped. A few months ago, someone contacted me. They claimed he was living in a secret psychiatric clinic in the Swiss Alps, under a false identity, hiding from the world. Elsa felt the weight of the revelation crash over her. If Jack Bennett was alive, it shifted the entire course of the investigation. Who gave you that information? Elsa asked quickly, struggling to keep her voice level. I don't know. It came anonymously. I was terrified. It felt like a trap. Elsa stood silently for a moment, absorbing the magnitude of what she had just learned. Every clue led to a truth darker and deeper than she had imagined. I need the name of that clinic, Max, she said. Firmly. Max sighed, then slowly walked to an old desk. He pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to Elsa with a trembling hand. This is the place. Do what you have to, detective. Max murmured, defeated. Elsa quickly pocketed the note, knowing she was finally close to uncovering the truth. As she stepped outside, her heart pounded. Her next meeting with Jack Bennett would be critical. But as she returned to her vehicle, an unsettling feeling lodged in her chest. Could she really trust Max's story? What secrets was Jack still hiding, buried beneath a false name in a remote clinic? As Elsa reached for the car door, she took a deep breath, preparing herself. Now, she had to face the possibility that Emily and Jack were both victims and culprits. The encounter with Jack Bennett at that secret clinic would forever alter everything she thought she knew about the case. Elsa Brandt stopped the car in front of the discreet Sonnenwald Clinic, a white, austere structure tucked deep in the Swiss Alps. She took a deep breath before getting out, trying to quiet the storm of thoughts racing through her mind. In just a few minutes, she would be face to face with Jack Bennett, a central figure in the mystery that had haunted her for years. As she walked slowly toward the entrance, the cold air struck her face, clearing her mind a little. Elsa knew she was close to the truth, but couldn't shake the fear of what she might find inside. What if Jack truly had been involved in something dark? Or worse, what if Max Gruber had manipulated everything? Inside the clinic, she was greeted by an eerily quiet, impeccably clean environment. She approached the front desk and calmly introduced herself to the emotionless receptionist. "I'm Elsa Brandt, detective from Innsbruck. I need to speak with Jack Bennett," she said, firm and clear. The receptionist nodded curtly and gestured for her to wait. Elsa sat down slowly in a nearby chair, staring at the white walls that seemed to absorb all feeling. Everything in that place appeared designed to suppress emotion and unrest. After several minutes, a young doctor appeared and introduced herself kindly as Dr. Clara Hoffman. "Detective Brandt, please follow me," the doctor said in a low voice. "Jack is expecting you, but I must warn you, his condition is fragile. Please avoid anything that might upset him." Elsa nodded solemnly and followed her down a long hallway. The closed doors on either side added to the sense of isolation. Finally, they arrived at a room at the end of the corridor marked with the D. Number 14. Upon entering, Elsa felt a chill run down her spine. There, seated on a plain bed, was Jack Bennett, almost unrecognizable. His pale, gaunt face looked like it had aged decades in just a few years. His eyes were distant, his hands trembling. "Jack, I'm Elsa Brandt," she said gently. "I'm here to talk about Emily." Jack slowly lifted his gaze, visibly shaken at the mention of the name. "Emily, did you find her?" he asked, his voice weak and shaky. "I need you to tell me what happened that night." Elsa continued carefully. "I've spoken to Max Gruber, but I need your version. I want the truth." Jack began rocking slightly, clearly agitated. His breathing grew faster. "Max is a liar. We should have never trusted him," he burst out suddenly. Anguished, Elsa kept her composure and stepped a little closer. "Then tell me what really happened." Jack swallowed hard before replying. "Emily found out everything. My debts, my mistakes, and she couldn't take it." His voice broke. She was furious. "She confronted me violently that night on the mountain. She tried to push me over the edge." Elsa frowned, startled by the unexpected claim. "Are you saying Emily tried to kill you?" Jack nodded slowly, tears forming in his dull eyes. "I don't recognize her in my memories from that night. Something had broken in her, something I had never seen before. I escaped as best I could. I hid in the forest for days until I managed to cross the border." Elsa watched him closely, weighing every word. Jack's fragility was evident. But something about his story raised even more questions. Did you know Emily visited this clinic several times in secret after your arrival? She asked carefully, gauging his reaction. Jack's eyes widened in disbelief. He shook his head sharply. That's not possible. Emily died that night, he shouted, clearly disturbed. You're playing with me. Dr. Hoffman entered quickly. Upon hearing the shouting, trying to calm him as Elsa stepped back toward the door. Please, detective, Jack needs rest, the doctor said firmly. Elsa left the room, her mind spinning. Jack was deeply disturbed, but his reaction to the mention of Emily felt genuine. Could it really be possible that Emily had survived and visited him? As she walked slowly back toward the exit, a deep unease settled in her chest. Who was lying, Max or Jack? Or maybe they were both clinging to distorted versions of the same tragic story. Stepping back into the cold outside, Elsa pulled out her phone and called Michael. She needed to share what had just happened. Michael, I just spoke with Jack. He's mentally shattered, but he insists Emily tried to kill him. She explained quickly. Michael let out a deep sigh on the other end. This just keeps getting stranger. Do you think he's lying or that something like that really happened? Elsa was quiet for a moment. I don't know yet, Michael. But something isn't right. We need to dig deeper. After hanging up, Elsa headed back toward Innsbruck, trying to reorganize the pieces of this tangled puzzle. Every clue seemed to complicate the case even more, pushing them further from a clear answer. When she arrived at the station, she was greeted by a young officer, Marcus, who looked visibly shaken. Detective Brandt, we have something urgent, he said quickly. The cyber team just found recent activity on a bank account registered under the name Emily Harris. Elsa felt the air leave her lungs. What are you saying? Emily was declared missing 8 years ago, she replied. Stunned. Marcus nodded quickly. That's right. But the account is still active, detective. Someone's been withdrawing regular amounts of money every month for years. Everything suggests Emily Harris might still be alive. Elsa sank slowly into a nearby chair, struggling to process the shocking news. It felt like the ground beneath her was collapsing. If Emily Harris was alive, everything had to be re-evaluated from scratch. Are you absolutely certain? She asked, her voice unsteady. Marcus nodded firmly. We've triple-checked everything. The withdrawals happen in various European towns, always in small amounts, always carefully. It's no coincidence. Elsa pressed her lips together, thinking through the implications. She was now facing the very real possibility that Emily Harris hadn't just survived, but had been deliberately hiding for years. As the weight of that information sank in, Elsa realized there were still more secrets to uncover. The truth was far from revealed, and every answer only led to more questions. She turned to the window, her mind racing. What reason could Emily possibly have for staying hidden all this time? What or who was she running from? Elsa knew the next step would be decisive. More than ever, she had to find Emily Harris. Somewhere behind those anonymous bank transactions lay the final piece of the puzzle, the key to finally unraveling this long, dark mystery. Michael Turner stood at the very spot where he had found the meadow leg weeks earlier. The cold wind whistled softly between the trees, while a blanket of fog slowly covered the peak of Patrickhoffel, wrapping everything in a haunting, silent atmosphere. He had returned alone, driven by a strange feeling he couldn't explain. There was a pressure in his chest, like the mountain itself was watching him, patiently waiting for his next move. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting his senses sharpen. The cutting cold on his face grew stronger with each passing second. Michael could smell the moisture, the snow, the frozen vegetation. He inhaled deeply, trying to quiet his racing mind. Suddenly, in the midst of that absolute silence, a faint, distant sound echoed through the rocks, a soft but unmistakable voice. "Help!" The female voice whispered, fading into the canyons. Echoes. Michael's eyes snapped open, his body instantly tense. His heart raced and every muscle tightened. He couldn't have imagined it. The sound was too real, too familiar. He turned slowly, trying to locate the direction it had come from. "Emily?" He whispered, almost in disbelief. The voice echoed again, this time clearer, more urgent. "Please, help." The sound came from deep within the ravine known locally. As the abyss of voices died without wasting a second, Michael moved toward the edge, shining his flashlight down the rocky slope. He had heard the local legends about this place, rumors that the voices of the lost echoed there forever. But this time felt different. That voice was real. He began his descent carefully, clinging to the rocks and searching for stable footing. With every meter down, the voice grew clearer, though it remained inconsistent, flickering between echoes and silence. After what felt like an eternity, he reached a narrow ledge leading to a small cave opening. His heart pounded faster as his flashlight revealed unmistakable signs of human presence. Personal items were scattered on the ground: a worn coat, a rusted thermos, dusty books, and most shocking of all, damp, half-damaged photographs. As he stepped closer, a chill ran down his spine. They were pictures of Emily, smiling beside Jack, images from a simpler, brighter time. "Emily, you were here all this time?" he murmured, the anguish tightening in his chest. A small camera sat in the corner. Michael grabbed it immediately, discovering it still held an intact memory card. His hands trembled as he powered it on and hit play. A video began to play. Emily appeared on screen, visibly frail, her face marked by suffering and solitude, but her eyes held a fierce, unyielding strength. "If you're watching this," she began in a fragile voice, "it means you've come close to finding me. I survived that fall, that night. Jack and Max, they both shattered my life, each in their own way. Jack with his lies, his betrayals, and debts that haunted us. Max with his obsession, pretending to help. I've spent years hiding here, terrified they would come back to finish what they started. But today, I've decided it ends." Michael's skin prickled as her words sank in. "Jack is alive," she said firmly. "He hides behind madness and a false name, but I know the truth. And soon so will everyone. I am not the fragile victim they thought I was. I'm leaving to somewhere no one will ever find me, away from the lies, away from the pain." Emily leaned closer to the camera, her face streaked with tears, but burning with defiance. "To whoever finds this, seek justice. For me, don't let their lies go unpunished." The recording cut off suddenly, the screen going dark. Michael sat frozen, struggling to absorb what he'd just seen. Emily had been alive all these years, hiding just miles from Innsbruck. How had she survived in such conditions? And more importantly, where was she now? As he climbed back toward the surface, he immediately called Elsa, recounting every detail. She responded swiftly, organizing a massive search that lasted for days. But there were no further traces of Emily. It was as if she had vanished again, this time by choice. Weeks passed, and news of Emily Harris's possible survival once again shook the city. Jack Bennett remained in the clinic, clinging to his version of events with desperation. Max Gruber had fled the country, unable to face the mounting accusations. Michael knew the truth still hadn't fully come to light. One cold afternoon, as he wandered alone once more across the peak of Patrickofel, Michael paused to gaze out at the vast, silent horizon. He thought of Emily, how she had survived. The unthinkable, how her inner strength had triumphed where most would have given up. And then, amidst the wind's moan, he heard it again, the faint echo of a woman's voice, like a whisper carried from afar. Michael. He spun around, heart pounding. Emily. He called out, searching the trees and shadows. Only silence replied, at first. But seconds later, the echo returned. Faint, gentle, undeniable. Thank you. Michael froze, flooded with a strange blend of fear and hope. Was it real, or was it the mountain playing tricks on his mind? Could it be that Emily was still out there, watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to return? As the wind picked up around him, Michael stood still, staring into the distance. He knew some answers might never come. The possibility that Emily was still near, watching, guarding, choosing her moment, was as haunting as it was real. Uncertainty would follow him from that day on. But so would the echo of her voice, a lingering presence on the wind, whispering that some truths are meant to stay hidden and some stories never fully end.